it's the thing that inspires me to want to be a productive member of society,
Hmm.
and want to be a good husband and a good friend.
Hmm.
Um, it's the thing that inspires me to want to be good at what I do.
Yeah.
Um, and so I think it's very useful. I think the where it becomes dangerous is when that voice in our head becomes the only voice that we hear.
Hmm.
And I think a lot of people, especially people who experience trauma in their childhood and teenage years. And I mean, you could even trauma little t or big T, right? Like your experience of being rejected or judged by your friends for your performance on the football field is a little T trauma or big T
Hmm.
trauma, depending on how it affected you.
Sure.
Um, I think when we experience trauma for whatever reason, our instinct is to want to identify with that inner critic more and more and more and more,
Hmm.
right? Maybe if I just listen to what everyone else has to say about me, and I compare myself to what they have to say about me, maybe I'll fit in better, maybe I'll be accepted, maybe I'll be loved, like you said.
Yeah.
Um, but the evolution from that, and I think every adult human has a responsibility to eventually take this step. You get to a point where you become aware of that voice. You become aware of actually how little of it is your voice and how much
Hmm.
of it are the voices you heard throughout your
Wow.
life.
Yeah.
And you start to see it as a useful tool, but just that, a tool, not the central guiding principle, not the North Star of your inner
Hmm.
psyche.
Right.
And for me, the way I like to work with it, and I'm a pretty, as I'm sure you can already, as I'm sure your listeners can tell, I'm a relatively cognitive person, and we can talk
Hmm.
about different channels of not, of knowing and experience. But I'm a pretty cognitive person. For me, when I notice that inner critic voice is there and I'm aware of it, what I tell it in my head, I go in my head and I say, "Thank you. That's very helpful information. I really appreciate that perspective.
Hmm.
I will take it into account moving forward. Yeah, I will consider it seriously, and I'll consider the usefulness of that perspective seriously. And then I kind of like mentally like put the inner critic back on the tool shelf
Hmm.
and put it away. It's like, okay, it did its job. It gave me the hard feedback. It gave me the perspective, the awareness that has served me all my life to be a functioning member of society and a community member.
Right.
But it's just one perspective, and then I come back and I try to connect to I say my heart, but you can say the capital S self or the true self or the higher self, however you want to say it. I try to connect back to that voice, which doesn't really speak in words, actually. It speaks in multiple different channels.
Hmm.
And I say, okay, with that information that we just received, how does that align or misalign with what I'm feeling in that more authentic inner channel?
Hmm.
Am I making sense?
Absolutely. I mean, that's I mean, those are powerful things. I think that Alex, in your opinion, does it take a certain level of awareness to have that objectivity in identifying that inner critic, especially in the moment? Because our inner critic shows up a lot of times when we don't want it to. And, talking about performance on the golf course, especially in competition, that inner critic shows up if you miss a 3-footer for par. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
you know, how can we reframe that? I mean, you spoke like, how can we simplify the reframing of that in the moment?
Well, I like you said, it starts with awareness, and
Hmm.
maybe this is my training in mindfulness based practice.
Hmm.
But I always tell people, and I always remind myself, if you are aware of what's happening, if you're aware of the pattern, if you're aware of the voice, um, you've already accomplished the most important, most difficult, most meaningful step.
Hmm.
And going back to your comment about forgiveness, and I know maybe we'll go into that deeper later on, but um, I can get to forgiveness so much faster when I acknowledge the miracle of my awareness.
Hmm.
You know,
Wow.
so I always start with a big pat on the shoulder, basically. If I miss that 3-footer and I go, "Oh, you fucking suck, you're such a loser," and I go, "Oh, hey." there it is. There's a hello, inner critic. Hello again.
Hmm.
Um, I immediately feel a sense of pride and joy at having caught it. Oh, good job.
Right,
Good
right.
job, me.
Wow.
And that already creates a somewhat of a, for me, creates a kind of an inner nervous system reset right away.
Wow.
Um, but if it's really pestering you, or if it's something that you're actively working on in a
Hmm.
really intentional, mindful way, then one of the ways to deal with it, like I said, is to just have a conversation with it. Like really, I mean, if you're a cognitive person like me, go into that inner dialogue and have a conversation with it. I think you do this too, Jesse. We talked about
Hmm.
speaking to the inner child.
Hmm.
It feels kind of silly the first time you do it. It feels a little bit like,
Hmm.
why am I'm talking to myself? This is so weird. How
Yeah.
is this going to accomplish anything?
Right, right.
But if you exist in that channel of language, it actually works to just have
Yeah.
that inner conversation. And you know what's amazing? What's a really shocking discovery is when it responds.
Hmm.
When you get to that point where you're having an inner dialogue with yourself, with a part of yourself, your inner critic, and then it has something to say, like,
Yeah.
shut the fuck up. You don't know me. You don't know me. You don't listen.
Right,
That's it.
right.
So you just continue that conversation. And I always come back to, thank you, gratitude,
Hmm.
awareness, and then gratitude. Thank you for that. Thank you for telling me that putt mattered.
Yeah.
You know, I
It's
appreciate that. That's
interesting.
valuable information for me.
Boy, that is real in time redistribution of energy because you can spiral out there easily. Especially if you attach yourself to that inner critic and you let that inner critic, like you said so beautifully a moment ago, about if that's the only voice inside your head and you're obeying it and you're listening to it. I mean, that for me, the whole theme for me and is how I talk to myself and being aware of that inner critic and reframing that. It's not demonizing it. It's there's a part of what people, in my opinion, fail to realize with the inner critic, especially on the golf course, is that it got you there. There's a part of that voice that got you there. There's a part of that voice that got you to hit balls, that got you to work on your putting, your chipping, and all of the sacrifices that you make to become the best player that you can be for most people that listen to this podcast. Um, so it needs to be handled, in my opinion, at least my experience, a little bit with some kid gloves. Like, hey, what is it saying? What is it truly saying, and what are the words behind it? And let's go have that inner dialogue to find out what those words truly are, because that's getting to the root, the source of why that nick keeps happening, or why the pattern of self-communication continues to happen in the scenario where you miss an important putt or you miss a 3-footer for par or birdie or whatever it is. And uh, me reframing it is like, well, I mean, it happens. Scotty Scheffler misses 3-footers. Denny McCarthy, Max Grazerman, the guys that are the best putters in the world, they don't miss them very often, but they do. So what exempts me from it? It's a part of the game. So, I mean, even just a simple thing like that. But the one thing that you said that I didn't realize, and maybe your listeners might identify with this as well, is how powerful our words are, whether they're on the surface or beneath the surface, and how they affect our whole biophysiology. So let's get into that a little bit, just out of my own curiosity, Alex. Why do words affect us in the most profound ways, even if we're not aware of it?
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting question, isn't it?
Mhm.
Where my mind goes first is to one of the fundamental truths that I personally buy into, which is that ultimately we are nervous systems before we're
Mhm.
minds.
Mhm.
Our minds are built on top of our nervous systems.
Mhm.
And learning what our nervous systems are and learning how to interact with our nervous systems, how to support them, how to build scaffolding around them, is, I think, probably one of the most valuable human pursuits any individual could undergo. And you look at a lot of these traditions, wisdom-based traditions. A lot of it's about the nervous system,
Mm-hmm.
meditation, yoga, prayer, practice, physical practices, chanting, dancing. All those things are technologies that allow us to directly interface with our nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
On top of that is our brain. And for whatever reason, and I don't know why, I don't know what the answer is. It probably has to do with the fact that we are social communicative creatures and we've learned to survive and evolve through communication. Our brains, I think, at least my brain certainly primarily operates through the language channel.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, there's different channels. Some people are much more in like the what's the word? Kinesthetic
Mm-hmm.
channel,
Yep.
the felt channel, the physical
Sure.
channel.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, like my wife, are very much in the emotional channel,
Mm-hmm.
where their body speaks to them through emotional content. Um, my brain operates in the language channel. I call it the cognitive channel,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that ultimately that channel, that language channel, is communicating directly with my nervous system,
Mm-hmm.
whether I realize it or not. Both ways. I know that inner critic is much louder when I'm in a sympathetic nervous system state, where I'm activated, where I'm
Mm-hmm.
a little anxious, a little nervous, a little excited. I know that channel, that the pace of my inner dialogue is faster in that channel. And so if my inner cognitive language dialogue channel is a reflection of my nervous system, then of course the conscious response to that with my own thoughts is also going to interface with my nervous system. So in short, my answer to your question, and this is all just a working hypothesis. I don't think anyone knows what the answer is yet. It's that when the way you talk to yourself is like prayer, like breath work, like
Mm-hmm.
chanting, like dance. It's actually a technique, a skill, a technology of nervous system interface, nervous
Mm-hmm.
system interaction that can be trained.
Wow. What
How
an
do you feel about that
incredible, I
idea?
mean, just that's an incredibly powerful answer. And that makes an extreme ton of sense. It really does. And I think